Much more slow. Good evening, members. Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? Thank you very much. Welcome to this meeting of the Council. I will begin by outlining some procedural matters. On social distancing and masks, please be mindful of maintaining a social distance of at least 1 metre at all times and continue wearing your masks throughout the meeting. Please avoid, if possible, turning in your seats. Please follow the directions from committee services and the COVID marshals on entry and exit from the building. This meeting is being audio recorded and filmed. Please ensure that you are speaking into the microphone nearest to you when addressing the Council so that your comments are recorded. And please announce your name at the start of your comments so that you can be recognised by the recording. The recordings will be available to view on the Council's website and YouTube channels after the meeting has ended. When requested to vote, members should listen to the instructions from committee services clearly. Members will vote by raising their hand. Please keep your hand raised until it is confirmed that all votes have been counted. Members will have noted the change of venue for tonight's meeting, and while this space can accommodate a full meeting of the Council, we are operating without the usual technical equipment, so please be patient and considerate as the procedural elements of this meeting may take slightly longer than usual. There is also a minor change to the order of business. The first item will be the election of a chair for this meeting, due to both the chair and vice chair being unable to attend. Are there any questions before we start? No? Thank you very much. To item 1, election of a chair. As mentioned, due to the absence of the chair and vice chair of the Council, the first order of business at this meeting will be to elect a member to chair this meeting. Can I have nominations for a chair of this meeting? Councillor Zenner-Sarberg?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Councillor Keith Hoskins.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder?
Councillor Paul Clark, I have pleasure in seconding.
Thank you very much. Are there any other nominations? If not, that is agreed. Councillor Hoskins, if you'd like to take the chair.
What?
Thank you. Well, what a surprise. Okay, yes, so surprised, like the Speaker of the House of Commons, with reluctance and an air of humility, I'm happy to take the chair. Welcome back to everybody to a live setting. And to Hitching Town Hall. I know it's a bit like a sauna tonight, but I'm pleased to see so many people here. I've made an idiot of myself on this stage several times over the past years, so what's new? I'm sorry about the masks. Local democracy is muffled tonight, but it's not muzzled, so please feel free to contribute. First item is apologies for absence. We have apologies from councillors Kate Aspinwall, Val Bryant, John Bishop, Joanne Cowell, Jim McNally, Gerald Morris, Kay Tart, Terry Tyler and Michael Weeks. Are there any other apologies? No, okay. At this point I'd like to send very best wishes to our chairman Val Bryant for a speedy recovery following a successful hospital operation, and thanks to her also for the opportunity of allowing me to step, for just one night, to step into her shoes. Well, it's a long time since I've worn heels. Then item 2 is minutes of the meeting on the 26th of May. I will propose that we take as read and approve as a true record the minutes of the meeting of the Council held on the 26th of May 2021. May I have a seconder, please? Okay. We'll go to the vote on that. All those in favour, please raise your hands.
Thank you, Chair. That's sufficient to carry.
Okay, thank you very much, Will. Cheers. Item 3, notification of other business. No other business has been notified, you'll be pleased to know. And now we do the standard Chair's announcements. As you've been told, in accordance with Council policy, this meeting is being audio recorded as well as filmed. The audio recordings will be available to view on ModGov and video via YouTube after the meeting, so it's not live streamed, but posterity will judge us all. Climate emergency. Members are reminded that this council has declared a climate emergency. This is a serious decision and means that as this is an emergency, all of us, officers and members, have that in mind as we carry out our various roles and tasks for the benefit of the district. Declarations of interest. Members are reminded to make declarations of interest before an item. The detailed reminder about this and speaking rights is set out under Chair's announcements on the agenda. Rules of debate. Please can I remind you that the normal procedural rules in respect of debate and times to speak will apply. No speeches may be made after the mover has moved a proposal and explained the purpose of it until the motion has been seconded. When seconding a motional amendment, a member may reserve their speech until later in the debate. In accordance with the Constitution, please can members ensure that no speech exceeds 5 minutes without the consent of the Chair. And I can't believe that with these on, anybody wants to speak for more than 5 minutes anyway. Area committees. Members of the Hitching and Letchworth area committees are reminded that meetings of their committees have been called to commence once the business of full council has concluded. Comfort break. I'm hoping that there's no intention to have a comfort break unless members request one. Which brings us on to item 7, which is a long service award. This is for Liz Watson. And just to give you a little background, Liz started working within the Revenues Recovery team at NHDC on the 10th of June 1996. Over the years, Liz has gained an extensive knowledge of revenues as well as representing the council in the Magistrates' Court. Liz is always available to assist other team members when required and has over the past few years increased her knowledge of dealing with business rates, which has proved to be valuable when assisting our businesses to claim grants during the current pandemic. And I'd like to pay tribute to her and that team who did such a superb job over the last year. Liz is an adaptable and flexible member of the team, often being asked to cover tasks within the service area at short notice. She has gained a wealth of knowledge and experience over the years and is certainly not only a valuable asset to the revenues team, but the council as a whole. So I would like to propose that the council place on record its sincere thanks and appreciation to Liz Watson for her long and valuable service to local government. I'm looking for a seconder. Thank you. Councillor Elizabeth Dennis-Harburg. Does anybody wish to speak, or will we just go to the vote? So let's just have a vote on that then, please. All those in favour of that? Thank you very much. The next item on this that I'd like to bring to your attention is the retirement of a long-standing member of our council community, Hilary Deneen. You may have already heard that Hilary has decided that it's time to hang up what was once a pen, now a laptop, and to retire. Hilary joined the council in December 2007, which was quite a career challenge, having that's a slip of the tongue. It was a challenge, it was also a change, having previously worked in the mental health service and also a bank. This, as many of us know, was a committee and member services officer, although Hilary progressed to the committee member and security manager in 2019. Although Hilary does not officially finish until towards the end of August, this will in fact be Hilary's last full council meeting before she retires. Thank you, I was pausing for somebody to go, As Hilary has been a familiar face to members, some of whom will have known Hilary since she started in 2007, we wanted to acknowledge this, as well as the service she has given both to the authority and to members. Personally, I'd like to give her my thanks for all the help that I've had over the years, certainly in my previous incarnation as well, before I was a councillor. In actual fact, I thought at one time that the motto of this council was Ring Hilary, because that was what I was always told to do. So, on behalf of all the members, Hilary, we wish you a very happy retirement and thank you for your help and support you've given to us all over the years. I would like to propose that the council place on record its sincere thanks and appreciation to Hilary Deneen for her valuable service to local government. May I have a second? Thank you. Elizabeth Dennis-Harburg. And I know some will wish to speak, and the leader of the council, Elizabeth Dennis-Harburg.
Yes, Thank you, Chair. Sorry, excuse me. When I was a baby councillor, and I guess to some I might still be a baby councillor, having been here for a mere 5 years, the first person who I encountered was Hilary, and she made herself open and available and welcoming, and no question that a new councillor could ask was ever too stupid or small or irrelevant for her to deal with. And it became increasingly apparent that whenever there was a problem, well, you ring Hilary. Every single local authority, in my opinion, needs a Hilary to sort of support us as members, to support new officers as they come into the authority. And I think that she's one in a million, and the way that she's supported us all through this pandemic, getting meetings to run smoothly, moving things online, helping us all in pre-agenda meetings for panels that we didn't know we could even manage to run in person, let alone getting them into the digital spectrum. And then recently, I think we're all aware of the struggles around the first annual council of this year, and members of Southern Rural will be acutely aware of the trials and tribulations of being forced to do in-person meetings during a pandemic when there are still infections running around. My words are going because this is such a... I'm very sad to see Hilary go. And this meeting tonight, uncomfortable as we all might be, being forced to sit in this space, 1 metre apart from each other, all forced to wear masks. The reason that we are here and that we are able to have something resembling a fully democratic council meeting with all members present is because of the sheer determination and hard work of Hilary and the community services officers that work with her and that she has nurtured and grown. And I think we're all going to miss her very much. And I wish I was allowed to turn around and see her, Chair. I shall shut up now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Paul Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I speak with some sadness because, like everybody else, I will miss Hilary. She has been a shining beacon to us all here. You said about a change from where she'd come from, mental health. Dealing with 49 councillors might not necessarily be that much of a change, but she has done it with the utmost professionalism, being able to manage councillors, even when slightly more rounded members of the council sit on tables. She knows what I'm talking about. Sit on tables and politely and very tastefully suggest that the table in question might not be able to bear the strain. She did it brilliantly, and it's something, as you can hear, we will still laugh about today. The other side of me is happy because it is Hilary's choice. She's going, I wish her a very long, enjoyable, fruitful retirement. She can sneak out of the house and have a fag when she wants to. She won't worry about where she has to be. We will miss you, so please don't stay a stranger, but I associate myself with all the comments made by Councillor Harburg.
Thank you. Councillor Claire Strong. Claire.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to add, particularly from behalf of my group, our thanks to Hilary and for all the help and service she's given to Conservative councillors. I was probably one of the councillors was elected when she came to the council, and it didn't take Hilary very long before we noticed her. I think it's her can-do attitude, always there and ready to help. She is going to be very, very sorely missed, and I'm sure that there's not going to be too many people that are easily going to fill her shoes when she's gone. But one thing, Hilary, wherever you are, big hug from me, and you know what I mean. Bye.
Thank you, Claire. Any other members wish to say anything? Judy Billing.
Thank you, Chair. It always strikes me as interesting that it's committee services, democratic services, electoral services, staff, however they're configured in different councils, who sort of get us, who sort of know what councillors are for, even when sometimes it seems some swathes of professional staff trying to get on with their work and us getting in the way don't always kind of see why on earth they have to go with councillors at all. I always thought that Hilary really did get me. She knew when I was She knows that councillors can be regarded as a tad opinionated and quite firm about their opinions. It made me giggle earlier actually when William asked us to be patient and considerate, and I could almost see him going at the same time as he made that request of us, because the staff in those sections sort of get us but also find us utterly exasperating. And Hilary to me has been the best possible example of democratic services staff who get councillors, who know what we're for, and when we need some kindness and when we need to be told to shut up. And I actually did ring Hilary today, and I asked her if I could still come to this meeting if I couldn't sit here in a mask all evening, and she said yes. And then I asked her if I could come to the Scrutiny meeting next week without being in person, and she said no. So, you know, there was no fear or favour in the answers that I got about any of my requests. But Hilary has been mostly to me over the last few years, I have to say, the soul of absolute kindness and occasionally a bit of gossip, which is nice too. And I'm getting a bit emotional because it's not lost on me that it's 8 years today that my husband died, David, who was a councillor here, my husband and Claire's dad, and the kindness, the quiet behind the scenes kindness that she showed me then, and later when I was having medical problems of my own, has been absolutely second to none. So as I then spent months shielding and asking even dafter questions on the phone, through email, and any other method I could think of that didn't involve me leaving the house. So my gratitude to Hilary is enormous. It won't go away, and I hope that we'll at least be allowed to share more gossip than before in Hilary's afterlife, even if I continue to do this ridiculous thing for a little bit longer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judy. Councillor Richard Tate. Richard.
My mother, God bless her, always told me that small and precious things come in tiny boxes. So this will be the shortest tribute that you will ever hear. Thank you, and you know what I mean.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you for your brevity. Unless there are any other comments, I don't think it's coincidental that Hilary has chosen to retire just as she has to face us all in the flesh again. So, on that motion that we offer our sincere thanks and appreciation, can I have a show of hands, please? And of course it's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Okay, on with the agenda. Item 6 is public participation. Again, there is none. Item 7 is now items referred from other committees. This is the part of the show called the Ian Albert Show. And so we'll ask Councillor Albert to present the report at 7A, which is the Investment Strategy, Capital and Treasury End of Year Review 2019-20.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair. Councillor Ian Albert to report to offer you and move the item 7A, which you can find in your supplementary agenda. The report on our investment strategy, capital and treasury, is asking Council to specifically approve our actual 2021 prudential and treasury indicators and that the annual treasury report be noted. It's worth spending just a moment on our overall position. The position on capital is summarised by the table 1 on page 8. The intention at this time last year was that we would spend 13.4 million this year. The outturn position is that we've spent under 2 million. The majority of that impact is the ideas that we've had to invest in commercial and residential property for the benefit of the district have been hampered mainly by COVID-19, but also impacted by the changes in investment rules from the Public Works Loan Board and CIPFA. However, I'm hopeful that we can make some significant progress this year. The low in the forecast spend means that we've funded all our capital spend from contributions and capital reserves. We've added over £700,000 to capital reserves during the year for finalising sales on surplus land and buildings. There are further sales in the pipeline which will support our planned capital investments while minimising the need to borrow. Therefore, we still have capital resources available. We have no need to borrow, as I said, and there is still, though, I have to say, some historic and reducing Public Works Loan Board borrowing of around 405,000. Investment returns, as I've mentioned, have been severely impacted by the economic effects of COVID-19. They will get even worse in short term as COVID longer term investments mature, as the pre-COVID investments mature and are replaced by post-COVID ones. The position on Treasury is summarised in paragraphs 8.11 through to 8.20 with more detail in Appendix B. The rates of return have been drastically impacted by COVID-19, with the average rate on new deals now at 0.17%. And there's little prospect that these rates will increase back up very quickly. As detailed in paragraph 8.20, we are progressing with the new long-term investments in the property fund and multi-asset fund, and these will help diversify our portfolio of investments, and it is hoped provide a yield in line with the longer-term investment risk being taken. This is being supported by our Treasury advisors, but I would stress here that in doing this, we will certainly look to see how any new investments match with our climate change agenda. I can confirm that Council has met its reporting requirements on Treasury management. I propose that the Council agrees the two recommendations on page 5, and I say I will, to avoid me saying this part again, I'd like to thank Ian Cooper and his team for all their work on both the Treasury management and also on the revenue budget, the next item. I move those recommendations, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ian, and yeah, I add my thanks to that as well. I think it's been a very difficult year for the finance team, understandably. I think done a fantastic job. Right, so we have Councillor Albert proposing those. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Elizabeth Dennis-Harburg has seconded. Any debate, questions, comments? No, I don't see any hands raised, so we'll vote on those recommendations, please. All those in favour, please show. Any against? And any abstentions? Please keep your hands up until Will's finished counting.
Chair, that vote is carried.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Thank you. And we go on to the referral from Cabinet on the revenue budget outturn. Councillor Albert again, Ian.
Cheers. Thanks, Chair. And just to draw the attention to members in that recommendation under 7B item 1, the Council approves the net transfer to earmarked reserves, and it should be as identified in table 9 in the report of 11.464 million. That's table 9. And so I'm asking Council to approve that net transfer, but I do want, again, to spend just a little time looking at our overall position. As detailed in the executive summary, the final quarter saw a significant reduction in forecast spend. The most significant element of this was the decrease in the support required to Stevenage Leisure due to the reducing utility costs, such as reducing the pool temperatures and use of furlough. And I think it's encouraging to see the new take-up at our leisure centres and pools since they have begun to fully reopen, and hopefully will fully reopen further in the coming weeks. All the other significant variances are detailed in Table 2. It should be noted that 317,000 of the forecast movement are areas of spend that are now planned to be delivered in 21-22. And in relation to the parking income position at the bottom of page 104, and thanks, I think it was to Councillor Hone, I think it was, for pointing that out at the finance meeting, there are a couple of typos. The total at the bottom in bold for the working budget should be 1,338,000, and the equivalent number for the outturn should be 1,278,000. The variance is correct. Table 6 on page 110 details the year-end budget impact of COVID-19. The final sales fees and charges contribution from government has yet to be confirmed, but assuming that there are no issues with our claim, then the net impact is about £1.5 million worth of additional cost to this council. Now, I believe this council has done outstandingly well in managing our services to residents during the pandemic, despite the shortfall in government promises. We've maintained key services like leisure, which came in under forecast. We've supported the vulnerable and homeless. We've created new grants for community groups. Table 7 on page 111 shows the impact on the general fund, which is a balance at the start of the year of under 9.4 million and a year-end position subject to audit of almost 8.9 million. This is just under a 500,000 reduction. The difference between this and the COVID-19 impact is made up of other variances that weren't due to COVID, total carry forward of 719,000, which will increase spend and therefore decrease the general fund balance in 21-22, and the position in relation to sources of funding, which is explained in the report. And the final two things just to point out are the transfer to and from reserves. And the COVID-19 financial support that we've paid out this year, that's the business grants, is detailed in table 10. At the time of writing this report, it totaled over £46 million, which includes a number of innovative bespoke grant schemes which we devised from discretionary funding received from government. There are clear challenges ahead. We will need to look for further savings, income and efficiency in the coming years if our funding remains as set out here, but we are well placed to deliver on our promises to residents. So I commend the report and ask Council to approve the net transfers to earmark reserves as in table 9 in the report. I move, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ian. So we've slightly amended table 8 to table 9. So could I have a seconder for that proposal? Elizabeth Dennis-Hallberg, thank you. Any questions or comments from members? No? Okay, we'll go straight to the vote then. All those in favour of that recommendation, please show. Just keep your hands up. Okay, all those against? And any abstentions?
Thank you, Chair. That motion is carried.
Thank you very much indeed. And then on to 7C, once again to Ian Albert for this referral from Cabinet on the annual report on risk management.
Thanks, Chair. And this report provides Council with our summary of risk management undertaken during the course of the last financial year. It's been a hugely challenging year, as our previous reports have mentioned, where our ability to manage risk effectively has been well tested. The report confirms our commitment to managing key risks and considering associated opportunities to enable the achievement of our objectives and successful delivery of projects, initiatives and services. The Finance Audit and Risk Committee has received quarterly reports on the management of corporate risks and associated risk issues, and where necessary referred items to Cabinet. I'd like to thank the outgoing Chair of FAR, Kate Aspinwall, and all the committee members in this civic year and the previous one for all their work. And I would particularly like to thank members of the Risk Management Group that Ian Cooper chairs, with support from our Performance and Risk Officer, Tim Everett. Their work is really appreciated. The report covers significant changes to corporate risks, the annual review of the risk management framework, as well as insurance, health and safety and business continuity updates for the year. Key actions for this year include increased rollout of the risk management e-learning and working with officers and members on the risk appetite of the Council, i.e. our willingness to accept risks, to realise opportunities and achieve objectives. We have to take some risks to deliver services effectively, but then we manage them well through the risk management framework. It has been agreed that members of FAR should undertake the risk management e-learning module as well as officers. This, of course, will be available for all members to do, and I would encourage them to do so. In addition, following the peer review challenge, a strategic discussion around risk is being facilitated at the Political Liaison Board, and we'll report back to FAR and full Council on this. I commend the annual report on risk management and ask the Council note it. I move, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ian. And again, I'd like a seconder, please. Elizabeth Dennis-Hallberg, thank you. Seconds that. Any debate on that? No, then we'll move straight to the vote that the annual report on risk management be noted. All those in favour, please show. Okay, against and abstentions.
Thank you, Chair. That motion is carried.
Thank you very much, Will. Right, we move on to item 7D, the referral from Finance Audit and Risk Committee, their annual report. And I'm going to ask Ian Cooper to present, please.
Thank you, Chair. Ian Cooper, Service Director Resources. I'm presenting this as the outgoing chair of FAR. Councillor Aspinwall is unfortunately unable to attend this evening. As lead officer for Finance Audit and Risk Committee, I'm presenting it to you. The report is presented to the FAR committee initially to be brought to you to give you assurance that the work of the committee has been effective over the previous year. The report describes activities during the previous year as well as detailing planned work for the committee during this coming year.
We done? Okay. Right, so there is a recommendation to be proposed. I'm looking for a proposal for the annual report of the Finance Audit and Risk Committee be noted. Would somebody like to propose?
Happy to.
Thank you. Councillor Ian Albert, seconded Councillor Paul Clark. Thank you. Any discussion? Good, we go straight to the vote. So all those in favour of that being noted, please raise.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Against? Any abstentions?
Thank you, Chair. That motion is carried.
Thank you very much indeed. We move on to item 8, he said, removing his glasses. Constitutional amendments, annual review, and I think, Jeanette, are you?
I am, Chair. Thank
Thank you.
Yes, hello. Jeanette Thompson, Service Director for Legal and Community. Presenting the annual constitutional review report. Essentially 3 elements to that. Appendix A has got the proposed changes to the Constitution that have come to me via officers and members. Secondly, just asking you to note the changes that were made to section 14 of the Constitution following the portfolio changes that the leader announced at Council. And lastly, seeking your approval on the delegated decision from the 1st of June, which dealt with area committees and the ability at the time of the members to make recommendations to the executive member for community engagement on grants. So hopefully the last 2 recommendations will be straightforward. There may be some amendments to the Appendix A, and obviously they'll be dealt with once the recommendations have been moved, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm looking for somebody to move the recommendations. Councillor Elizabeth Dennis-Harburg so moves. And could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Paul Clark seconds. And now for the debate.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I appreciate I'm moving this item. However, I think there was an amendment that the Joint Administration wished to make. I'm trying to find the correct paragraph in the appendixes. But I believe we were looking at increasing the number of members required to call a recorded vote, Jeanette. I just wanted to...
Yes, that's on page 42 of the physical paper, so I don't know whether you've got that.
I've got that,
yeah. That's...
There we go. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that we keep that so that only 1 member is required to call a recorded vote, as opposed to the change which is at the top of page 43 that requires 2 members be present to call a recorded vote.
Okay. Councillor Claire Strong.
Thank you, Councillor Claire Strong. Yes, just on this, I have a question really around it. Seeing that we have, when we're normally meeting in the council chamber, there was a fair amount of expenditure spent on a voting system that we use, which displays the members' votes on the screen. Why that is not used and taken as the record for every vote that we take in council. That way we would avoid having to have the requests recorded votes, because the votes are already recorded every time we have a meeting. And it would then save us having to have the wonderful procedure that we go through, which I hate because I'm S and I'm towards the end of the alphabet. So it seems to take forever and a day before you seem to get and call my name to then ask me how I'm voting. Whereas for all the other votes that we do have, it's displayed on the board. So why that information couldn't be taken every meeting and put into the minutes of every meeting, therefore avoiding us when we're in the council chamber to actually have to call for recorded votes.
Right.
It would only be when we're in other locations where we don't have the equipment and technology to do it for us, and we could then we could go paperless as well, maybe.
Thank you.
I'm happy to try to answer that, Councillor Strong. It predates the decision that we had at the time, but as I understand it, this would require us to buy an additional model if you want to automatically pull that information through. We can move it manually, but that would mean that the committee services officers would have to do that, and that will take just as much time as actually going through the recorded vote. So I'm happy to look at that further. I think, as I said to you before, that is something that, you know, we're happy to look at, but I don't have the costings available at this stage, and something we could resolve at a later date.
Okay, thank you. Paul Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Firstly, can I second Councillor Dennis Hartberg's
Yes, apologies.
amendment? I totally agree with it. I also agree with Councillor Strong with the technology we have. But for tonight, we're being asked to approve something that I would have difficulty with requesting 2 members. So I would rather we voted on 1 member, but put a note at the bottom that we actually look at reproducing the electronic vote in a form that the public can interrogate to see how their ward councillors actually voted on matters that affect them, because I think that's only right and just. Yes, you can see in the council chamber if you're there, but if you're not there or you don't see the recording, you can't always see it, and it's not always clear. So it would be good if the monitoring officer could be kind enough to look at it and come back to us with how that could be implemented.
Okay. Councillor Judy Billing.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to add that it would also mean further consideration of the recorded votes that we're statutorily made to have over the budget, because we don't know, just as we don't know what government regards as a reasonable way of holding a council meeting, we don't exactly know what they mean by the requirement to have a recorded vote over the budget, and whether it is actually permissible to do that by transcript of the screen, or whether we do have to be heard to say how we vote on each occasion. So that needs checking as well. That's all.
Thank you. Any other comments or? Okay. It seems to me that we're looking to leave things as they are at the moment, but with a note to investigate a better way of using our electronic voting device.
It is only on that part of the constitutional changes.
Yeah.
It's not all the other changes.
No.
I think. So it is just that bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that amendment. Yeah. So can we ask for a vote on that amendment, please? All those in favour of the amendment? Thank you. That's overwhelmingly carried. Okay. Councillor Fake.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm not entirely sure if this is the appropriate time to raise it, but there would appear to be a typo or an omission on page 50 under relevant considerations. This is item 8, which is the monitoring officer's unilateral decision to try and remove an anomaly where there are no chairs or vice chairs in place, which is a perfectly sensible thing to do. But I think that it should actually, excuse me, it's disappeared now. I think it should actually read, until the committees have met, there are no chairs or vice chairs to consult, and therefore there is a block. It says a block. I think there's something missing there, just to... I fully understand what we are being asked to approve and have no problem with it, but I think if you read 8.2 on page 50, I read it again, until the committee have met, there are no chairs or vice chairs to consult, and therefore a block to making such decisions. I think there is a block, would be a clearer...
Okay, well, we're not actually...
Sorry, I did say I wasn't sure if we were at the right place.
Yeah, I accept if there's a typographical error, but you're actually voting on the, if you like, the constitutional bit of that amendment.
Yeah, I did apologise, because if I got it in the wrong position, the brain isn't in here.
Thank you anyway. Let's move to a vote on that then. All those in favour, please show. I think that's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. So I think we are now on to item 9, the annual report of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. And I'd like to invite Councillor David Levitt, to present his report.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be very brief. You've got the report in front of you, a quite comprehensive report, so I won't go into it in any detail. It's there if anybody wants to ask questions. One I would like to do, though, is say formal thanks, first of all, to Kate Aspinall, who was my Vice Chair, all the members of the committee over the last year, Anna, who's chaired the committees, officers and executive members who've presented and been questioned, sometimes quite robustly, but last but not least, somebody we couldn't have done without, we did mention it earlier, and I'd just like to put my little bit here, is Hilary, who stepped into the role of scrutiny officer on top of her normal duties and has done a superb job in very, very difficult circumstances over the last year or two. And Hilary, I've worked with you since I first started. Hilary starts off as like your mum, telling you what to do and what you can't do when you come on the council. She moves on to be like your auntie advising you, and in the end becomes like a big sister or your mum and a friend to you. And Hilary, thank you for everything you've done for me over the years. Thank you. I move the recommendation, Chair, to note the report.
Thank you very much, David. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Claire Strong is seconded. Thank you. Okay, any discussions, comments, points to be raised? No, so we are asking that the annual report of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee 2021 as attached be noted. All those in favour? Thank you very much. That's a unanimous vote. Item 10, we come to the annual report of the Standards Committee, and I'll ask Councillor Judy Belling to present the report. Judy.
Thank you, Chair. I won't be quite as brief as that, because there are one or two quite important things I'd like to say about the standards regime at North Arts. This is the second year I've delivered the Standards Committee annual report, and I'm pleased that we've made progress on a number of issues in our efforts to promote high standards of council conduct, which of course reflect on our reputation in local government generally. Hopefully members will be aware that as well as cross-party membership, the committee has a number of parish council co-optees and 3 independent persons. I don't know why we call them persons, not people, but we do. An additional one, John Richardson, who's known to some of you, was appointed, and Nicholas Moss and Peter Chapman were reappointed last September. The committee provides a valuable steer to tackling ethical behaviour and complaints concerning councillors. The committee has met twice this year, and as part of that work participated in the consultation on the LGA's draft code, subsequently reviewing the LGA approved version, and made sometimes agonising recommendations on adoption to full council in April, with this coming into force on the 7th of May. Some of you will know that councillor development is very close to my heart. It's also a subject the committee recognised as important, specifically on the new code, and I was glad to note that the full council accepted its recommendation on mandatory training when it adopted the new code. This training has been delivered in 2 sessions so far by Paul Hoey from Hoey Ainscough Associates, a man of extensive experience in the standards world. In fact, I remember him working on it as a civil servant 20 years ago, and specific involvement in drafting the code and new code guidance. Amazingly, 41 of our 49 councillors have attended those 2 sessions in June and July, which must be a record, I think, for almost anything except possibly planning. Sorry, I've just realised Ruth was sitting next to me, so I better say that. So I'd urge the remaining 8 to attend the final mop-up session, due to be arranged in September, although we shall also be providing an internal YouTube version of the first session to district councillors via Grow Zone in due course. I don't know if you'll be editing or amending the questions of councillors, but it could be a bit heavy if you don't. For those who've been attending the LGA conference quite a lot this week, we were hoping that today would be the launch of the Code of Conduct Guidance, but it hasn't actually magically happened today. But we will be promoting that on our website to councillors in the district as soon as we do get it, but I haven't actually been told what's happened about that. We hope this will provide the necessary support that district councillors, local councils and clerks of parishes need to deal with harmful behaviour that not only affects them but the communities they serve. and, as I will say again, the reputation of local government. Turning to the issue of complaints, the team have been busy with these as set out under 8.7 to 8.10 of the report, which is an unfortunate but necessary part of a complaints process. Some of this has been internal complaints, councillor against councillor, which is quite often pointless, and it's hoped that the new code, training and guidance will assist with that, especially local councils that suffer with ongoing complaints. While I'm sure no councillor wishes to be subject to a complaint, the procedure we have does involve the 3 independent persons or people to assist with the trust and confidence in the council's arrangements. We will not be taking that for granted and will continue to keep things under review, including looking at complaints handling procedure this year in the light of the new Code of Conduct. I'd like to take this opportunity as well, there's a slight irony here, in reminding members that following adoption, all councillors should review and update their Register of Interest form on ModGov if they haven't already done so, as this is a requirement under legislation. Because if you don't do so, you open yourself up to complaint and illegality as a councillor. And I will absolutely deny that Jeanette Thompson had to remind me a week ago to do my own. Otherwise, I could look pretty stupid giving this report at this meeting. But I have done it. Honest Jeanette, I have done it. You're nodding, so you've obviously checked up on that. Thank you. How marvellous. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our independent people, the monitoring officer herself, checking up on me, and the deputy monitoring officers, and my multi-talented and multitasking vice chair, Ruth Brown, for their work on complaints and other governance-related matters during the year. Sometimes the independent persons do show an exasperating attention to detail, but it's always worthwhile because it makes up for my lack of interest in that direction. So thank you very much for listening to me, anybody who was, and I would like to move acceptance of the report.
Thank you very much. Ruth Brown.
Thank you, Chair, and I'd like to second the motion, the recommendation, and I'd just like to add a few comments of my own. I am delighted that the LGA have come up with a standardised model code of conduct, and I'm even more delighted that the majority of the parishes in our district have chosen to adopt it. As a Royston Town Councillor as well as a District Councillor, it is incredibly confusing to be working under 2 different code of conducts, and to harmonise these seems to be ultimately sensible to me. The other thing that I'm delighted about is the training, and I'm really pleased that we are being able to offer spaces to parish and town councillors on that training too. You will notice in some of the table of complaints that many of those come from parishes, and I sometimes wonder whether if they had better training that we wouldn't receive so many complaints, which would save a lot of officer time and expense. So I really welcome that. And the whole process of consultation with the LGA, where we were able to, so many people were able to contribute to this, to come up with something that is a standard that the majority of councils can accept and adopt as it is, I think is incredibly helpful. So I'm really happy to second this recommendation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. That sounds like a fine example of joined-up government. So we have a proposer and a seconder for the motion that the council receives and notes the annual report. Any other comment? George?
Hello. I just wanted to query what I suspect may be a subtle typo in the table, though may not be, hence the query. Under 8.9 on page 70, there is 3/2021 complaint against community councillor, 5/2021 complaint against 3 district councillors, and then 7/2021 complaint against community councillor following 5/2021. I just wondered, should that in fact be following 3/2021, which would be the other complaint originating from the same community council?
Chair, can I just say I don't do subtle typos, so Jeanette will have to help me with this one.
Of course.
Yes, probably. Yes, that's the answer to it. If it's... Yes. Sorry, that should have been 3.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the clarification.
Okay, that's good. It shows we're all human. Right, Simon Harwood.
Councillor Simon, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Councillor Simon Howard. It's just a clarification. I've left it till the end, but it is a point of clarification. In all of the recommendations that we carry, there's always subparagraph 13, which is social value implications. Now, this evening it hasn't been relevant because all of them have been, it does not apply to this report. But I would just like a point of clarification, please, from the council. As you're aware, if my meeting papers work. Give me 1 second, please. As you're aware, the Public Services Social Value Act came into force on the 31st of January 2013, but there's recently been some significant changes to the Social Value Act as of the 29th of March 2021. I've not seen anything come forward from Council in papers I've had, unless I've completely missed it, about how our statement at paragraph 13, even though it's not applicable to the papers this evening, has been amended as a result of the changes of the 29th of March 2021 by central government. Thank you.
Okay, that's far too technical for me, so I'm going to look for help.
I'll look into it, and if necessary, we'll update the guidance to obviously the officer's consent.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, we'll just have to take that under advisement, I think.
No, Chair. Sorry, is my microphone... Sorry, Chair, I was just clarifying that obviously we're voting on recommendations, and if we haven't obviously updated the policies on the recommendations, then there could ultimately be challenges. I don't think there are this evening because obviously it says it's not applicable, but in future recommendations, I think we should look at it.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chair.
For future, it's worth noting, isn't it? Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? If not, I'll call for the vote then. It's been... all those in favour? Thank you very much. That looks to be pretty unanimous. Thank you. Right, we move on to item 11. There have been, you'll be pleased to know, no motions put on notice. So it takes us straight to item 12, questions from members, and there have been no questions submitted by members. So, I've got to tell you, the business of this council is concluded and this meeting is closed, but can everyone please remain seated until the Hitching and Letchworth committee meetings are concluded, after which the committee officer will manage your exit from the building. We're not anticipating this taking too long. So this is for the Hitching committee members only, which we'll go to. Are there any apologies for absence from any Hitching councillors? Don't think so. Oh,
yes. I have apologies from Councillor Cathart.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
And also from Councillor Val Bryant.
And of course, how could I forget that? Well remembered, thank you. Right, so we need nominations for Chair of the Hitching Committee for this civic year 21-22. So can I ask? Yes, Elizabeth.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Ian Albert.
Ian Albert is nominated. Can I have a seconder, please? Judy Billings seconds. Thank you. Any other nominations? No? Then by acclamation, Ian Albert is Chairman of the Hitching Committee. And now we go for the election of a Vice Chair for the Hitching Committee. Again, can I have a nomination, please?
I can leave it to him, to Councillor.
Yeah.
Could I ask for nominations for Vice Chair of the
Hitching Committee? Stealing your thunder, Ian.
Yes. That doesn't matter. Yeah, I know you like to.
You've got me in the chair now. You can't shut me up.
Nominations for Vice Chair of the Hitching Committee.
Can I nominate Claire Billing without it looking like a bad thing for me to do?
You can. Is there a seconder for that? Thank you, Councillor Clark. Are there
any other nominations? No?
No?
That's it?
Congratulations, Claire.
Thank you very much. Okay, Letchworth Committee. This is members of Letchworth Committee only. Are there any apologies? We've had Councillor Aspinwall's apologies, haven't we? Any other apologies from Letchworth? No. Right, so election of a chair for the civic year. Can I ask for nominations for Chair of the Letchworth Committee? Gary.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm happy to nominate Councillor Daniel Allen.
Daniel Allen is nominated. Can I have a seconder, please? Ian Mantle seconds. Thank you. Are there any other nominations for Chair of the Letchworth Committee? No? Then, Daniel, it's over to you to deal with the Vice Chair.
I'm not 100% sure who it was that wanted to be our Vice Chair. Was it yourself, Sue? I would like to
call for nominations.
Call for nominations. Call for nomination for a vice chair.
Can I nominate Councillor Nguala? That's Ian Mantle here.
Thank you. Right, we have. You want a seconder? Gary seconds. Any
Councillor Gary Grindle, happy to second.
Thank you. Any other nominations? No, then Sue, it's down to you. Thank you very much, folks. That concludes it. I'd like to thank officers for setting it all up. I'd like to thank you all for keeping it brief in this sweaty environment. And we'll see you again soon. Okay, thanks very much, everybody.